Guarda video senza annunci, offline e in background. Prova YouTube Premium senza costi.
is black and the moon is yellow. Here is where I get off. As you can see for yourself, old girl, in the green book. I can go down to the smoky lobby. My eyes adjust to the light. The new cashier looks like Jill St. John. Can that be right? I'm rolling into the bar at Joey's. They're getting ready to close. Here she comes, very kiss me deadly. My life, my love, my third-hand rose. Flash ahead to a young playback. Just you and me in a room. I'm double dreaming a page at a time in the green book. The tosser rocks in the eyes of tears. Bet we sample those links. I'm thinking Marilyn 4.0 in the green book. I like the neon, I love the music. Anachronistic but nice. A seamless segue from fun to fever. It's a sweet I'm so in love with this dirty city. This crazy grid of desire. Festive icons along the way. The boardwalk lovers, the house on fire. She's kinda cute but a little younger. She's got the mood and the moves. It's kinda scary to dig yourself in the green book. Green book. I'm so in love with this dirty city. This crazy grid of desire. Festive icons along the way. The boardwalk lovers, the house on fire. She's kinda cute but a little younger. She's got the mood and the moves. It's kinda scary to dig yourself in the green book. Green book. fires off 20 tracer rounds. And that's when she jumps the turnstile. And as she clings to the roof of the speeding train, the double A down to Sheridan Square. Her cell phone rings. It's like her stupid father being the door by 10 again. Pixely. Green deep by 3 times perfect ultra green. Pixely. And when I blue rams the clip in the mini Glock, a
Prova, microfonica, prova. Oh, state zitto, questo è il
Good morning. Giorno.
And put the picture on.
Recording in progress.
Okay. Hi, guys. Hi.
Hi. And
Hi. Mhm. Time.
sure. Okay.
Okay. Kelly and Nora. Okay.
Sorry about that.
Sorry. Technical problems.
Right. You know, it's hard to say, really. I think everything you do influences the way you see. That's not too pretentious a term. But I don't think the way I see has changed much since the first photographs I took. That's what I found really interesting when going through my photographs and figuring out which ones would go in this book. And you know, I feel my sensibility is very much the same. actually.
The age-old question.
I really think color can be such a distraction. I mean, I suppose I was brought up looking at the work of Bill Brandt and Brassai and people and Stieglitz and all the great photographers, Julia Margaret Cameron, that was all black and white. And I guess we had a black and white TV until I was kind of quite old. What's in the photograph than actually the kind of the appearance of the photograph, really. So I think, to me, it's about juxtaposition of ideas in a photograph and about composition. That's really what I love playing with. It's such a range. Again, I mean, somebody said when Meatloaf died the other day, right? The singer who did Bat Out of Hell. And somebody said, somebody like Meatloaf kind of is part of your life, and there's people that affected me when I was a kid growing up, like Leonard Cohen and Meatloaf later, but and also painters like Edward Munch and certainly Giorgio de Chirico. There's certain works that I saw when I was quite young, and they affected me then, and I go back to them now, and they still affect me, and they've just somehow part of who I am because I've grown up with them. You know what I mean? But I grew up in a coastal town in southern England, and I think that's been the greatest influence on me and the way I see things and the kind of light that I love, and the kind of photographs I take, frankly, because I still love going back to Devon, where I grew up, and taking photographs of just life in Devon, really.
Simplicity.
Yeah, simplicity. It's funny because, I mean, I don't really find cities that interesting, just in terms of my photography. If I was working on a film, that's something else, but I very much separate the images I take on a still camera with what I do film-wise. That's why it was really important to me. This book was just my kind of sketches, as you said earlier, my notebook of images that I took personally. And it's got nothing to do with what I do in the film world, I think my view on life is a bit dark because there wasn't a lot of light sometimes in the winter in Devon. Yeah, the change of the light, I think, the natural world, I think, is definitely very part of me. I get very claustrophobic in cities. We're in London at the moment. I get very claustrophobic. Yeah, I would be very flattered to be connected with his work. I mean, there's some of Eliot Irwit's photographs have a sense of humor that maybe has a similarity. But I never really knew Elliot Irwit's work until quite late, you know. So there's no sort of connection in that way. I say I was brought up with much more. I kind of went much more towards like photojournalism, really. I mean, Don McCullum was somebody that who I really admired, and maybe I wanted to be at one point, you know, that kind of photojournalist. But I guess one of the people that influenced me most was when I was at art college. Before I'd even picked up a camera, a stills camera or a film camera, I met Roger Main, who was teaching briefly at art college, and I just started taking photographs. And I think Roger Main's work and approach really influenced me, you know, because he was somebody that would just stand on a street corner for hours and just observe and just wait. And, you know, it was just his photographs are wonderful.
Tells a story.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I think a still image has a more, in some way, obviously a more immediate impact because it's just something that you just glance at maybe, or you stay staring at, but it's not, you're not telling a story with a number of images. I mean, it was interesting. When I started photography, I was trying to make sequences of photographs because I was actually intending to get into film. But most of my personal images, really, I mean, a lot of them are just things that just interest me over the years. But the images that mean most to me are moments when something happens that's kind of unique, and a unique sort of set of circumstances. Whether there's a photograph of a seagull looking at a carving of a lion or something in a park by the sea. And it's just a moment that I find particularly funny, but it only works because of that particular moment and that configuration of objects in the frame and the composition, and the whole thing seems to have, it has a whole, you know, that I find it's intriguing finding those kind of images. It's really interesting, you know.
It's about being able to observe.
Oh. Oh, interesting. I could always repeat the kind of question in short.
Before you answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, interesting. A choice of project. I mean, it's interesting. I think I would only ever choose a film from an emotional reaction to a script. I mean, obviously, if you work with a director before, like I worked with Joel and Ethan Cohen for many, many years. So it's pretty much, you know, whatever they were going to do. But no, I have to be connected. Even then, I have to be connected to the story, don't you think?
Yeah.
And you know, the technical challenges, I really don't consider reading a script. You know, we both read the scripts, and it's very much if they connect with you emotionally.
Because we might not have taken 1917
Yeah,
if we realized what we were getting into.
1917, if we just thought this, you know, one shot and you're going to do this, we'd go, hey, wait a minute. So, you know, then you, something like 1917, you get into it and you think, oh my God. And then you just gradually find the technology and you just, yeah, just work it out. I mean, I do love technical challenges. Sometimes they seem totally overwhelming, especially before you start shooting. But you know, I say you just gradually work through all the possibilities and figure it out. But the initial reaction to a script is the most important thing. That's an emotional reaction, you know. And it's funny, it doesn't matter what genre it is, because, you know, I mean, I was deeply affected by Denis' Blade Runner script, you know. And I was also deeply affected by No Country for Old Men or Sam Mendes' Jarhead when I first worked with Sam. You know, those are scripts that really kind of, you read and go, oh my God, how lucky would I be to work on a film that has this to say, basically. Yeah, I mean,
Repeat the question.
Yeah, I would say influences from different countries and the different style of filmmaking. Obviously, when I was at film school, you know, even before I studied kind of Eisenstein and, you know, and the French New Wave and Italian. I mean, I was probably drawn more to Italian neorealism, to De Sica and Visconti and Rossellini than probably anybody. And then later I discovered Jean-Pierre Melville, the French director, whose work I absolutely love. I think he's probably one of the greatest directors ever. And then, you know, you discover people like Andrei Tarkovsky and his almost incarnation, Alexei, what's his name? Andrei.
Andrei,
the Russian
Vagdinsky,
who directed Loveless and Leviathan. You know, I mean, I just love that work. But the Italian cinema, I must say, influenced me a great deal. The one film that one film I always think of is La Terra Trema, because it's set in a sort of small seaside town and it's about fishermen and it's made with non-actors. And the film, that style of filmmaking, I really connected with, and I feel a pity I haven't done much in my career in that way. You know, I wanted to be Raoul Coutard, really. You know, and just work with as much natural light as possible with a handheld camera, and you know, but I've. You know, it's funny, and I find myself working with Joel and Ethan and doing very stylist films. So, you know, but it's interesting. I think I keep a I keep a European sensibility if there's such a thing. I mean, I don't feel myself so much British or English. I don't really feel connected so much to the, you know, the kind of kitchen sink neorealism that was being done in England when I was at film school, really, at school and at film school. I say I feel more connected with Europe in a way.
Freeze it or what? Raise it. Okay. Freeze. So bring down the volume or bring it up?
I'll put down.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
We-
yeah. Oh,
Okay, well,
well, it's as high as it will go now. Yeah, high as it will go now.
a little bit of what? Yes, you're,
Well,
well, yeah,
I don't.
it's as high as it can go.
Yeah, we've got no more sound left.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know what to say.
everything.
Yeah, everything. I'm usually in prep. Like now, I'm nervous wreck, frankly.
Prep will
No,
kill you.
I just worry that you know, I'm not doing the project justice. Really, that's what I worry about most. Yeah, I mean, technical challenges. I mean, certainly on a film like 1917, the biggest worry was the weather. You know, and so I had many sleepless nights on that, just worrying that if we got too much sun, that we couldn't shoot it, and how were we going to make the schedule? What kind of spring was it going to be in England at that year? Because it could have been disaster, you know.
But don't you think that doing prep when you're talking about it, the problem seems so much bigger than when you're just on the set and you figure out how to do it? And why was I so worried about that? And go on to the next
that's
thing.
absolutely it, isn't it? It's very hard kind of conceptualizing things. I mean, I like working instinctively, really. I like reacting to things. It's probably why I like most wandering around with a stills camera, because I'm just me reacting to something. But when you're on a set, there's so many things involved and so many people, and really all you want to focus on is what am I seeing through the lens, you know, but there's so much involved to get to that point. So I find it very stressful. In fact, I think I better retire, actually. You know?
Roger, let's think of that after we shoot.
Yes, I think in pre-production and well, on any film, I think preparation is really, really key. I mean, obviously on a film like Blade Runner with Denis Villeneuve, we spent, you know, probably 6 months in advance. We started talking about the film. We started scouting different places, not that we were necessarily going to shoot there, but just we were scouting places to get inspiration from architecture and all sorts of things. And so we gradually went through the whole idea of it. But I think the best is if you always allow yourself to be open for what happens on the day, whether it be with an actor or another idea somebody has, you know. I really am kind of against the idea of just working out everything in a storyboard and just shooting that. I find that's kind of can be kind of mechanical and kind of emotionally dead.
And also because you're working out those boards without the actors there, and the actors bring so much in that you need to react to incorporate in the film.
Yeah.
It's such a collaboration overall. You need all the elements to affect each other.
Yeah, but it's hard. I mean, on a film like 1917, you know, we really had to figure out what the camera was going to do from moment to moment, because the sets couldn't be built until we had decided what the camera was going to see and what it wanted to see and how long it was going to move in a certain
That's very different
situation,
yeah.
which is very different than the normal way of operating. You know, I mean, you know, even if you build a set and you build a set with certain shots and certain coverage and certain staging of a scene in mind, you still want to be open to be able to explore that set with the actors on the day. You know, you still want that spontaneity. So it's a sort of balance, really. I mean, obviously it varies from project to project in terms of that balance between, you know, having something really worked out and being spontaneous. I mean, I've done enough films where it's been totally spontaneous, but you've still had a conceptual idea before you've gone in with it. You know?
And it's also when you're looking at the sets, you're trying to build in that spontaneousness by having a wild wall, by having it set in such a way. Yeah.
For that. Yeah. Yeah. I think shooting documentaries, which I did for many years, I think one, it was my entrance into the film industry because it was like my, you know, proof of I don't know, whatever. But I think, yes, I mean, I think observing, yes, documentary, I think I kind of explored where to put the camera, how to cover something, because most of what I did was sort of verite documentary. You know, you're following an action, you're in a situation and you're trying to describe it with the camera. So you, in a way, you learn about cutting, but you also learn about, what camera angle, when to move the camera, you know, where is it important to get a reaction and where is it important to be on the person speaking, you know, simple things like that, really. And I think that was very informative to me, really, yes. But I mean, I think, you know, your own personal experience is not just what affects you, but it is, you watch all the work of other people, you know, so it all affects you, really.
An interesting question.
As another person on the set, I don't know. I can see a number. I can think of a number of cinematographers I'd like to have been, but I can't think of any other role I'd want on a film, really. No, not at all. Not even a stills photographer on the film. No. I think. Well, I don't know. I don't know that it has really. Obviously, the films that I did with them, some of them were very stylized. But then I was also doing that kind of work in England before I started working in America. I mean, I did quite a lot of stylized, pop videos, rock videos. I actually shot a couple of videos for Meatloaf as well, which were very, very stylized. So I'm not sure. I mean, I think the thing I learned most, or that taught me most from working with Joel and Ethan Coen, is that the sparseness of their coverage, that you don't need to shoot a lot of shots. We would often go on set, even when I first worked with them, but certainly later on. I think particularly of a film, The Man Who Wasn't There, that I did with Joel and Ethan in black and white, one of my favorite movies. And we would quite often, we'd have storyboarded the whole movie. There was a picture for every shot we were going to do. And yes, it would change sometimes on the day. But what I remember most is one particular day we went in and we shot a 2-shot profile of these two people talking, with the expectation of them doing over the shoulders and singles. We did this 2-shot. It was kind of a lovely shot. And I went to Joel, I said, well, do you want to start? Which over do you want to start with now? And he looked at Ethan and they went, oh, do we want to cover this? And it was only like 11 o'clock in the morning, or not even that. It was probably 10:30 in the morning. And they went, oh, so what should we do now? That was it. The day was over. We'd shot the one shot, you know. But I mean, they had the confidence to know that that scene worked in that shot. They didn't need to go. Whereas working with probably less confident directors, they want to shoot a lot of coverage to have options, you know. Working with my gaffer, well, I've only really worked with 3 or 4 gaffers over my career, really. I'm working on a picture now with a gaffer, John Higgins, that I first worked with on rock videos here in the 80s. And the first movie we did together was 1984. He was gaffer and I was shooting it. And yeah, it's a very close relationship.
Secondo me, cioè, poi questa cosa vorrebbero ricaricarla su YouTube in post. Però la guardano in 4 perché non si sentono le domande, quindi boh.
No worry. It's
interesting.
No, I'm really actually quite specific about how I want something lit, even down to the point I do diagrams of sets or locations, and I mark in where I want the lights and what kind of light I want. And then that's for discussion. And I talk with John or whoever I'm working with in America. I work generally with this wonderful gaffer, Billy O'Leary, out of New York. And Billy, it's interesting actually. Billy O'Leary, a gaffer from New York, I first met when he was an electrician just dealing with practicals on the film Sid and Nancy that I did in the mid-80s. And it struck me the way he was putting these practicals up was totally in sync with the way I like to light, which is not really a conventional film style of lighting. You know, I use a lot of bounce light and I use a lot of practicals. And so I just sort of, you know, I just kind of got on so well with Billy, and we seemed in sync with that way of working that I worked with him as he was my gaffer for many, many years. I mean, if I did a film in America, I would hope he would be my gaffer now, you know.
But so, it's interesting though with gaffers is there's different kinds of gaffers. Some gaffers think that they're responsible for coming up with the lighting of the scene, but the gaffers we work with don't think that.
No, I mean, I'm very hands-on. I mean, even to the point I'll be setting a lamp myself, get off the camera but as the slate's going on even, and just tweak a lamp and then get back on. I mean, I'm very
they do call you
connected,
Deakins.
But I like the whole crew to be involved in all this, you know. So I think that relationship is very much
collaborative.
Yeah, collaborative. We're all kind of part of a family, you know. So you really got to get on the same page. A lot of it is about communication to just to, I say, get a sense of where you're trying to go, what you're trying to achieve. Okay. Okay.
Okay. So we'll get out.
Okay.
All right.